Alright everyone, it is Finn here, and welcome to my World Cup 2022 knockout stage prediction video, where of course, if you guys have not seen yet, about a day or two ago, I did upload a video where I predicted every single group for the upcoming World Cup. Yes, all 8 groups, and of course in today's video, I'm going to be using those 8 group stage predictions to predict the round of 16, quarterfinal, semi-final, and of course, you guessed it, the final of the upcoming World Cup. Now, of course, if you guys haven't seen my group stage prediction video yet, I would of course recommend seeing it before this one because, you know, it makes sense that way. Then, of course, click on the eye thingy up above if you guys want to watch that video first. Of course, if I don't want to spoil it before getting into this one, you've got 3, 2, 1, and of course on screen right now are my group stage predictions. Once again, yes, I got a few hms and haws in my previous video of people saying that they disagree totally with my predictions. Ladies and gentlemen, this is football. Don't forget, absolutely anything can happen. I mean, we wouldn't watch football if we knew exactly what was going to happen. So, of course, I mean, unless your predictions are 100% correct, which, let's be honest, they won't be. You can't say I'm going to be incorrect. I mean, yes, I know I've made a few gigantic shouts. I mean, Spain missing out due to Japan and Germany beating them. That's definitely a strange one. I guess we'll have to see whether that happens or not. But of course, looking at these group stage predictions, they of course kind of simulated here what the round of 16 will end up looking like. Which, by the way, if my predictions are correct and this is the round of 16, what a round of 16 it's going to be. We've got Argentina versus France, England versus Senegal, you've got Brazil versus Portugal, all 8 games here. I mean, this truly would be a magnificent World Cup if this ended up happening. Once again, it is football, anything can happen. The likelihood of my predictions being 100% correct, let's be honest, it's about 0. But of course, what a round of 16 this would be. And of course, jumping into my round of 16 predictions, if this is what it ends up looking like, we start off with Netherlands versus Wales. Now, I believe these two teams have been playing off in the Nations League at the moment, and one thing I do have to say is that Netherlands look like the strong favourites. As we know, they've been performing really well as of late. They've got an absolutely brilliant squad, and Wales, although they've done very well to qualify for the World Cup, it is their first World Cup in 64 years. Could Gareth Bale and their men do it? Could they surprise the entire world by going all the way for the first time in 64 years? No. Although it is football and anything can happen, to be honest with you, I do feel like the Oranje will be the team to triumph and come out on top, and I do think that they will end up beating Wales. As I said, I absolutely love this Welsh national team. I mean, Gareth Bale is even like considering moving to Cardiff in the Championship in order to train with Wales more. I mean, that's dedication.
Are you serious?
But of course, look at Netherlands, as I said, just with how good they are at the moment. They've got brilliant talent and they've been performing well, one of the most convincing national teams in the Nations League. I do believe Netherlands will end up winning this one and they will go on to the next stage. Now, of course, look at the next game. We've got Argentina versus France, Kylian Mbappe versus Lionel Messi. Now, of course, we saw these two teams face off in the 2018 World Cup, where, of course, Kylian Mbappe showed that the next generation is on its way. It is old versus new. Messi versus Mbappe. Now, of course, looking at these two teams, I mean, initially I thought surely France would be the stronger team, but without a single win in the Nations League in 4 games at the moment, I am slightly worried about them. Obviously, when it comes to the World Cup stage, they could be a totally different animal. We, of course, look at Argentina. They're like 30 whatever games unbeaten at the moment. They are looking seriously strong. They've just picked up more silverware with the Finalissima final versus Italy, obviously the previous Euro winners. As we know, though, looking at these two teams head to head, they will absolutely be giving it their all, and to be honest, this is not going to be an easy game to predict whatsoever. I do genuinely feel like it could go either way. It all depends whether France pick up their socks. Obviously, it's also going to be Karim Benzema versus Lionel Messi. What a game this is going to be. Argentina is no longer the team it used to be in previous World Cups, where it fully relies on Messi. We've now got the likes of Martinez between the posts. You've got Lautaro Martinez as well. You've got Lo Celso. You've got so many brilliant stars. You've got Christian Romero. This Argentina team is something special, and it could surprise a lot of people. France, you have been underperforming well as of late. You didn't do well in the recent Euros either, being knocked out early, although you won the recent Nations League. It is going to be a very, very tricky game to predict. To be honest, I have no idea who to actually go for on this one. I do actually, weirdly enough, think Argentina will end up surprising us and knocking France out. Once again, I could be wrong here. Don't forget to put your predictions down below. But of course, that takes us to England versus Senegal. Now, Senegal, I have so much belief in you guys. As someone who lives in Africa, who watched the African Cup of Nations, who really wants an African nation to do well, I have a lot of hope on the Senegalese national team, especially if my predictions are correct. They will make it further than every African nation to get to this point. Obviously, as we know, England, a lot like France, 0 wins at the moment in the Nations League. Once again, Senegal, this would be your chance to make it through, but I am not convinced yet. Although you've got a star-studded squad with some of the best players in every single position, you guys have not been that convincing as a nation. Yes, you won the African Cup of Nations, but there were a lot of games there where you weren't convincing, where you left it till the last minute to pick up a winner. You guys have gotten a lot of penalty time or extra time winners through penalties. So as much as I do like the Senegalese team, and as much as England have been struggling as of late, to be honest, I still do think England will make it through to the next stage, although it could go absolutely either way. I mean, let's be honest, with the growth of England and all the raging support of them over the last few years, if they ended up going out to a Sadio Mane penalty, I mean, to be honest, I can 100% see that happening.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
But of course, jumping on to our next game, we've got Denmark versus Poland. Now, of course, look at Poland. As I've said on numerous occasions, they've got a brilliant squad. That is no secret whatsoever. From Zielinski to Szczesny to Matty Cash, Robert Lewandowski, and so many others, this is a brilliant squad. But they have been underperforming for years now. And is this the World Cup where they're going to triumph above all? Well, I would kind of give them a chance if it wasn't versus Denmark, to be honest. I do think Denmark will end up winning this one. As we know, Denmark, once again, they've been brilliant in the last, I would say, 3 tournaments. I mean, at the moment, they are unbeaten versus France in their last 2-3 games. Obviously, faced the likes of France in the Nations League and in the 2018 World Cup. They are looking super strong. They will be in France's group as well in the World Cup. And as I said, I fully back the likes of Denmark to end up winning their group. Obviously, it is going to be Group D, and I do think Denmark will be able to win it. I think they'll probably end up continuing that form once again with the likes of Christian Eriksen. You've got Schmeichel, Kjær, if he's back from injury. This Denmark team is looking strong, and I think that they should get a comfortable win versus Poland. That, of course, takes us to Germany versus Croatia. Now, as I said, I do predict Germany to win their group. I do think that Croatia, once again, they've got a tricky group. I'm not even guaranteed that they'll make it out of their group. They could have the likes of either Canada or Morocco top them, but obviously they've got some brilliant young talent mixed with some experience. They are looking strong at the moment. It wasn't too long ago where they got a win over the World Cup champions, France. So once again, absolutely anything could happen here, but I do think Germany will still end up picking a win. They obviously got a 5-2 win versus the likes of Italy. I think attacking wise and defensively looking very, very strong, although I wouldn't say that they've got a clinical number 9 up front. I mean, Timo Werner seems to have picked up for Germany as of late. The likes of Thomas Müller, Manuel Neuer, all of these players have been in brilliant form, and I do think Germany should end up convincing us with a win here. Now, of course, moving on, we've got Brazil versus Portugal. Now, of course, 2 Portuguese-speaking nations. I think that this will be a game for the ages. Of course, the most successful team in World Cup history. Of course, as we know, Brazil, the only nation to qualify for every single World Cup ever. As you can see, 5 World Cup trophies versus Portugal 0. But, I mean, the past doesn't matter. It is all about the now. And do I genuinely believe that Portugal stand a chance versus Brazil? As we know, Brazil, as of late, have been triumphing, and they've been looking brilliant when they play against the opposition. Obviously, looking at Portugal, I mean, they've got a good squad, but they've really cut it close on multiple occasions, and they have had games where they haven't been that convincing. Of course, I mean, if we want a Messi Ronaldo final, Portugal will have to make it through this stage. As we know, once again, Portugal almost didn't qualify for this World Cup. When I have watched them play, I mean, once again, it's a matter of revenge. They'll end up drawing a game versus Spain where they look sloppy, then totally switch on and dominate the likes of Switzerland. So Portugal, it all depends which version of yourselves you bring to the game. And as much as I do like this Portuguese national team, they could go all the way in the World Cup. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, my predictions, I mean, I am very 50-50 with a lot of these teams, because football is a game where anything can happen. But to be honest, looking at Brazil, looking how strong they are, the stars in their squad, how well they've performed as a team, I do think Brazil should be able to win this one. It will be a super entertaining game. I'm sorry, Portugal, I'm a huge fan of your national team, but I just don't see it happening. I do think Brazil will end up scraping this one. Now, of course, we then move on to Belgium versus Japan. Once again, one of the most entertaining games of the 2018 World Cup, where Japan almost knocked out Belgium. As we know, for Japan to get to this stage of the competition, many people I think will be laughing at me, the fact that I put them here over Spain. Obviously, either Spain or Germany will probably play Belgium in the World Cup. But as I said, I do think Japan will shock a lot of people and make it very far this competition. I think they'll at least make it to the round of 16. I mean, they've got brilliant players from Minamino to Tomiyasu to Kamada and so many other brilliant stars that I probably couldn't even mention them all. But of course, look at Japan, as much talent as I do think they have, and as much as Belgium have kind of seesawed as of late between good and bad form, I do think Belgium have the better team and they will get a more clinical win over Japan this time around. Although I do believe it will be entertaining and maybe it could go either way. But of course, looking at Belgium, I would assume that they are the favorites to beat Japan. I do actually think it will be close, but I do think Belgium will end up sealing it off. Now, of course, that takes us to our final round of 16 game with Uruguay versus Serbia. Now, what a game this is going to be. Two absolute, I want to say underdogs fighting against each other here, but I feel like it's almost unfair for me to call Uruguay an underdog. They've got such a brilliant team at the moment. I mean, to think in your striker options, you can choose between the likes of Darwin Núñez, Luis Suarez, and Edinson Cavani. I mean, I don't think that any team's going to keep a clean sheet against them, to be honest with you. As I said, I think that they'll win their World Cup group that's got the likes of Ghana, Portugal, and South Korea with them. And I mean, if they can do that, I can totally see them beating Serbia. But saying that, Serbia may be the biggest underdogs to watch out for in this World Cup. I mean, with brilliant players from, as I've said in every single video, I always mention their players, from Milinkovic, Savic, you've got Kostic, who was brilliant with Frankfurt this season, you've got Vlahovic, you've got Mitrovic, you've got Dusan Tadic. There is absolutely nothing not to love about the Serbian team, and I genuinely do think that a real upset could be caused here. But once again, as I said, just looking at Uruguay, how strong they're looking at the moment, I do believe that they should end up getting this win. We'll have to wait and see. And of course, that takes us on to my quarter-final predictions, which Netherlands versus Argentina, which I'm not going to lie, kind of pisses me off that they're not level there. I guess it's because of the stars. You've got Germany versus Brazil. Once again, some PTSD flashbacks there for Brazil. You've got England versus Denmark. Once again, some flashbacks. And Belgium versus Uruguay. What a quarter-final stage this would be. And starting off with Netherlands versus Argentina, I'm not gonna lie, look at Netherlands, they 100% could beat Argentina, looking at how strong they are at the moment, at the moment. But of course, look at Argentina, once again, as I said, how strong they've been at the moment. If they continue their unbeaten run, once again, you just can't underestimate them. It could go either way. I'm very, very tempted for some reason to give Netherlands the win here. I think once again, with the whole story about Louis van Gaal at the moment, I think everyone wants Netherlands to do semi-well. I do think that they could potentially beat Argentina, but once again, I do think it is going to be the toss of a coin. It is going to be a 50-50 split, and I do think Argentina will make it through to the next stage, and I think it's going to be through penalties, to be honest with you. And I do think Argentina probably have the better penalty takers, and I think in terms of a goalkeeper, I think Argentina are a lot more secured, where Netherlands may be slightly worried in that area. Now, of course, moving on to Germany versus Brazil. Now, of course, can Brazil get their redemption after that 7-1 loss? This is their opportunity. Of course, two of the most successful teams in World Cup history. 9 World Cup wins between the two. That is mental to think about. Of course, looking at Brazil, I think they've got what it takes. Of course, between goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and attackers, I think that this is the best team in the World Cup this year. Looking at Germany, once again, as Thomas Muller has always said, and I quoted it in my last video, they play well as a team. They have got such a solid team, and it's not about the different individuals there. Although saying that, they do have brilliant individuals. I do believe that genuinely this is a game that could go either which way. But as I said, just looking at how strong Brazil is at the moment, I do think Brazil will end up getting their revenge, and I do think that they will get a win over Germany. Now, of course, moving on to our third quarterfinal, we've got England versus Denmark. Now, of course, as long as there are no laser pointers here, I do believe that this will be a very, very close contest. Of course, looking at Denmark, as I've said before, they have got such a strong team. From individuals to how they play as a team, I mean, in the last 2-3 tournaments over the last 6 to 8 years, they've looked really, really solid. Where, of course, looking at England, they've really started to dip as of late, and something just tells me that with all the hype on them this year, I do feel like maybe this is where they flop. I do believe this is where they flop hardcore, or where they end up winning the thing as a whole. I don't feel like there's a middle ground. I don't think that they're going to get to the semi-final or the final and get knocked out. I think that they're going to to be absolutely trash or they're going to win it. And to be honest, I don't see them winning the World Cup this year. I'm sorry, England, to say this, but I do think for some reason you're just going to end up flopping and bottling versus the likes of Denmark with how good they've looked at the moment. And I think Denmark will get their Euro 2020 revenge on you. Once again, that's definitely one of the most controversial predictions I've made, but I do think it is very, very likely. And of course, that takes us to our final quarterfinal game between Belgium and Uruguay. Now, of course, Uruguay, the team to win the first ever World Cup, versus Belgium. This will be a very, very close game. Of course, as I said, looking at Belgium, they have kind of seesawed in terms of their quality, doing well in some games, doing very, very badly in other games. We're, of course, looking at Uruguay. Yes, of course, maybe they drop points here and there where they probably shouldn't have. But looking at them as a team, as a whole, they are looking very, very solid, but I just don't see 3 South American teams making it to the semi-finals of the World Cup. I do believe, looking at the likes of Belgium, they do look strong, to be honest with you. I feel like when it comes to the World Cup, they are really, really going to look strong. I feel like at the moment, they're kind of transitioning between their golden generation and their next generation. I do believe that there are enough youngsters in this Belgium team to do well at the World Cup. And to be honest, I do think it is going to be, once again, a very close game, probably a game that will go to penalties. But looking at the likes of Courtois, Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku and how they play for this national team, and especially with the likes of Yuri Tillemans and so many others, I do think Belgium will just end up snatching a win here. And of course, that takes us to our final 3 games. And of course, what a gigantic, gigantic semi-final this will be. The semi-final of the South Americans versus the semi-final of the Europeans. Of course, we've got Argentina versus Brazil versus Denmark versus Belgium. What a semi-final stage this would be. Now, of course, Argentina versus Brazil, what a semi-final. Of course, as we know, Argentina obviously won the recent Copa America versus Brazil. So, of course, Brazil will want to get their revenge on them. As we know, once again, Argentina, this is the last chance probably for Lionel Messi to get a chance to lift that World Cup trophy. Obviously in 2014, got to the final but ended up losing to Germany. This is where Lionel Messi proves absolutely everyone wrong, except I don't think that's going to end up happening. Once again, I'm a huge Lionel Messi fan, but I do think Brazil will just end up taking this one. As I said, although looking at Argentina, looking how good they are, looking how dominant they've been playing as of late, I just feel like eventually it has to slip up. And if there's any team that they're going to slip up against, it is going to be Brazil. Looking at Brazil, once again, as I've said on numerous occasions, even just looking at their 2 goalkeepers, have the most clean sheets in the most difficult league in the entire world. When it comes to attack, once again, there are probably 5 to 6 different variations they can put up front. You look at their midfield in terms of choosing between Fabinho, Casemiro, and so many others. Bruno Gomes. Once again, looking at this Brazil squad, player for player, it is the best squad going to this World Cup in my opinion, and I do think it will pull through. And I think in terms of squad depth and not getting tired, I think especially compared to Argentina, who do have a strong squad, but I'm not sure they quite have the depth that Brazil do, and because of that I do think Brazil will end up making it. Now of course that takes us to our other semi-final with Denmark versus Belgium. Now of course, once again, can Belgium prove everyone wrong that even though they're leaving a golden generation, can they still make it to the final of the World Cup? I don't know if it would be, but I'm pretty sure it would be their first ever World Cup final. Obviously looking at the likes of Denmark, a previous Euro winner. Once again, they've got such a brilliant squad. I don't have to say it over and over again, but we've really seen what Denmark have been capable of when they play together on gigantic national competitions. They've done so well. I think their manager deserves so much more credit. I think as a team, they deserve a lot of credit because once again, it's just one of those nations where no one can really hate them because what they stand for. Once again, the fans seem really brilliant. I do think that this will be a very close game, but as much as I do kind of want Denmark to make it through to the final, as much as I want that Christian Eriksen story of Christian Eriksen lifting the World Cup, I do think Belgium will just end up making it through. Once again, with the quality in this Belgium squad, I do think it is very possible. And ladies and gentlemen, that takes us to my World Cup final predictions. If every single prediction I make is right up until this point, we will be seeing a Brazil versus Belgium final.
Shut up and take my money.
Which I wouldn't get too excited. Once again, predictions never 100% end up happening. But of course, how exciting would this be? Of course, Belgium versus Brazil. Now, as I've said on multiple occasions at this point in the video, just looking at this current Brazil squad, it is so tough not imagining them winning a game like this, because as I said, looking at Belgium, although they've got such a brilliant squad, although they've had good performances, they have shown in recent history that they can slip up, and they normally end up slipping up to the winners of competitions. They slipped out of the 2018 World Cup to the winners of France. They slipped out of the Euros to the winners like Italy. So of course, are they going to do it for the third time? Are they going to lose once again to the eventual winners? Unfortunately, as much as I like this Belgium team, we've seen it on too many occasions, and I do think Brazil will become the most successful and win their 6th World Cup title. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I think Brazil will win the World Cup 2022. Once again, guys, yeah, it's quite interesting. You can see the most predicted teams to win, and most people think Argentina will win. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comment section down below, who do you think will win World Cup 2022? And of course, if there are any predictions that you think are incorrect of mine, put them down below. Once again, don't forget that no one's predictions are going to be 100% correct. So you don't have to tell me I'm wrong down below. Just give me your honest opinions of what you think will happen. It doesn't have to be a fight for yourselves kind of thing. We can all have our own opinions and live peacefully in the comment section down below. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Once again, like and subscribe, and thank you so much for 5,000 subscribers. We have done it, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this is like our channel lifting the World Cup, in my opinion. So I really do appreciate the support as of late. Once again, don't forget to continue the support by liking, subscribing, all of the good stuff. I mean, what a crazy World Cup this will end up being. And of course, as I said, I'll probably end up redoing my predictions at a later stage closer to the World Cup to make it slightly more accurate. But guys, this has been your boy Finn, FYNN. Until next time, cheers.